Enjoy.
Charlamagne, the God, in studio. The book, Black Privilege. Opportunity comes to those who create it.
Yes.
I'm excited. He's on the show.
First of all, can I say that
yes.
I do a podcast called The Brilliant Idiots, and I want to say that our podcast isn't shit after walking into this building and looking around at this studio. This is a hell of a setup for a podcast.
Well, thanks.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I built it almost myself because I used to be a carpenter. I think your dad was a contractor.
Yeah,
so.
my dad was a contractor. Yep. Because, podcasts get a lot of flack. People look at podcasts and they think that they're really not a big deal. Maybe now the perception has changed. Mm-hmm. But this makes it look like a huge, huge deal.
Well, thanks. That's an interesting point because we're going to talk a lot about motivation and stuff.
Yeah.
My thing was always, if you're going to charge for something, you have to look like something.
Absolutely.
When a guy comes in, I don't care how good he is as a carpenter or a tile setter, and he pulls up in a beat-to-shit minivan with primer all over it and 2 space-saving spares on it, and then he comes in and wants to charge you top dollar, you look at his van and you go, fuck no.
I mean, I don't know if I'd look like that as for a contractor. Maybe like a personal trainer. Like if a personal trainer wants to train you, but he's all fat and he don't have the body you want, you'd be like, ugh, why would I let you train me? Yeah. I get you, though. I understand what you're saying.
So I figure if you want to charge and you want to get advertisers, you have to kind of look professional if you're going to charge professional.
This is sexy.
So
I'm still doing my podcast on my iPhone.
Let's talk about your story, because your story, my story, not so incredibly different. We both got onto a radio station at some point and impressed somebody. Yours with Wendy Williams.
Oh, no, before that, I started off as an intern in Charleston, South Carolina. So I started in the radio game in like 1998.
How I keep telling everyone about radio and almost every facet of life is just show up. Just keep showing up and you'll work your way in. Radio's so much that way.
Yeah, I mean, I've been fired 4 times from radio. So, I started off as an intern, then I worked in the promotions department, I was a part-time radio personality, then I got a full-time gig at another station. That was my first firing. Then I went to 2 stations in Columbia, got fired from the second station that I worked at there, and I went to work with Wendy, got fired from there, and I went to Philly and got fired from there, and now I'm, doing radio at Power 105.1 in New York, and we're the Breakfast Club, and we're nationally syndicated in 70 markets. So I guess 7th time's the charm, because I worked at 7 different radio stations.
I was just reading here and forgot that the whole Hillary Clinton, I carry hot sauce in my purse thing was on your show.
That was the Breakfast Club, yeah.
I was with her on that. I feel like she likes hot sauce. People like hot sauce. You can put it in your purse. Yeah. I don't know how you felt about it at the time.
It was just, at the time, I told her, I said, this is one of those times people are going to say you're just pandering to black people, right?
Right.
But, that was just one of those things where it was like the timing, because Beyonce had the whole hot sauce in my bag swag song out.
Uh-huh.
You remember.
Yeah.
So later on, she was doing El Cucuy, and she said I had a leaf blower in my purse, which to me is pandering. That was pandering. Nobody, Gina, you don't carry a leaf blower. You might carry
I generally
hot sauce.
don't. You're correct.
All right.
I don't think hot sauce is a black thing, though. Hot sauce is just a thing. If you like spicy food, you like hot sauce.
I feel like, you know how we stole jazz from you?
Yeah.
I feel like you stole...
Jazz amongst other things.
Amongst other things.
Yeah.
You stole hot sauce from Mexicans. Like, I feel like that was their thing, and you guys usurped it.
Yeah, I can see that a little bit.
Yeah. So
but everybody likes hot sauce, though. I mean, there's a lot of stereotypes that people put on people, and I'm like, why does that just belong to, like, one race? Like, it's more than white people who like mayonnaise. It's more than black people who like chicken. Like, it's just food. It's products.
I would argue there's a subset of black people that love mayonnaise way more than any white person ever could.
I hate mayonnaise.
I know, but you're not in that group. But there's an elite fraternity of black folk who love mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're branded with an M.
And by the way, my rap name is Man-Aze, because I'm white and I spell it with a Z. So, I think I have Snoop Dogg saying that's my main mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise. Okay.
So you start off and you grow up in this really small town in South Carolina?
Moncks Corner, South Carolina, the 843. What's happening?
And you're starting to lose your way, selling drugs, get into some trouble, and at some point you have a little bit of a come to Jesus moment with yourself?
Well, actually, I had no reason to do anything that I was doing. I mean, my mother was an English teacher and she was a Jehovah's Witness. I mean, my father was a Jehovah's Witness as well. He had his, situations with drugs and alcohol, selling and using, but they always was on me to do the right thing. I just got caught up in the wrong crowd. And my father would always beat it in my head that if I don't change my lifestyle, I'm going to end up in jail, dead, or broke sitting under the tree.
How did you, as the great Dr. Drew always says, how do you give people get it? Like, how do they get it? Like, how did you get it? Especially, how old were you when you sort of got that this is not going to go anywhere?
That's a great question. I mean, I always say smart people learn from their own mistakes, wise people learn from the mistakes of others. So eventually, probably around like 18, when I started to really get in trouble, like trouble that was like leading me to jail, and then I would look around and see other people around me going to jail and see other people around me getting killed and other people around me that I used to grow up loving really broke under the tree. I'm like, my pops know what the fuck he talking about. Like, either this guy's psychic or he's been here before. Like, he's really telling me exactly what's going to happen in my life. And that was scary to me. Like,
so do you just gravitate toward radio? Have you always had something to say and yet there was no sort of currency put on it? Or did people tell you, hey, you got to get a microphone in front of your mouth?
Well, the currency back in the day was, you get suspended in school. Like,
right.
you get stripes for being a badass, for being the class clown. You know what I mean?
I just thought about this a moment ago because I was class clown too, or class clown. They shouldn't have a class clown if they're going to constantly tell you to shut up when you pop off in class.
Every mixed message they're sending.
It's weird, yes. It's just every single report card I had was disruptive in class, distracting, disruptive, as outbursts, blah, blah, blah. And then they give you an award at the end for being the most disruptive.
Yeah, it's like, stop giving me... It's kind of like social media now. Like, people do things for attention. They do things for likes. They do things for retweets. When you used to see that back in the day, oh, he's disruptive, he talks out, like, you kind of liked that a little bit. Like, you like that reputation.
Were you class clown?
Oh, absolutely.
So you knew you had this thing?
No, I didn't.
Well,
even now, I'm like, I get paid for this shit? Like, you mean to tell me that it's such bullshit out here and, like, the industry is so full of lies that I get paid just to come on and, like, I guess so-called be honest?
Yeah.
Like, that shouldn't be a skill set. like, that should just be the way it is in life.
Well, I would say there is a skill set and a certain finesse to be able to say what you want to say, like if you're talking to Kanye West or something like that, and continue to book guests on your show. I know you're a fan of Howard Stern. I'm a fan of Howard Stern. So Howard Stern's skill set is not saying what he thinks or, not asking Margaret Thatcher how many times a week she masturbates back in the day, or whatever it was. I made that up. That was classic. Moment. But I'm saying having the next set of guests get booked for the next week. Yeah. Anyone can insult anybody, and then they go out of business.
But to not repel them and have them keep coming back.
Well, I always say it's no value in shock. I hate when people call me a shock jock. There's no value in shock. Like, what is shock value? Like, people that do that eventually crash and burn. That's why I've always liked Howard, because people think he's a shock jock. No, Howard got a lot of substance, and he's by far probably one of the best interviewers out there. So so you just can't, do fart and titty jokes all day long and expect to have a show, or like people come on and you just say wild things to them hoping to get a reaction. Like, that plane's gonna land and the wheel's not gonna come out eventually.
So for you realize at 18, all right, like your dad said, dead or in jail or under a tree and broke, there's nothing to do. So you start realizing, I got to do something. What gets you to the radio station?
Well, I was just working a bunch of odd jobs. And, like, when I made the decision to, like, really change my lifestyle in order to change my life, like, I'm not selling crack no more. I'm not hanging out in the hood no more. I just worked mad odd jobs. So I worked at a flower garden. I worked at a warehouse. I did telemarketing. Like, I was the guy that would call your house and try to sell you 10 CDs for a penny. Like, I worked at Taco Bell, and my sister fired me from Taco Bell. And, like, I wanted to rap. Like, most kids who grew up in the hood, because a lot of times when you see people who are successful that look like you, they're usually in sports and entertainment. So I'm too short to have a good jump shot. Well, I could have a good jump shot, but I'm too short to play ball. So I decided I wanted to rap. And I was just sitting in a recording studio one day, and I met a radio personality named Willie Will. And he did radio at the local station, Z93 Jams. And I just asked him, how'd you get in the radio? And he was like, I started off as an intern. And I was like, is that easy? Now, mind you, this was 1998. Charleston, South Carolina. You didn't have to have, you didn't have to give blood in your firstborn to get an internship like you do today. So I went down there and got an internship.
Let's go back for a second. You said your sister fired you from the Taco Bell?
Taco Bell, yep.
Which meant she was managing the
Taco
Bell?
She was the manager of the Taco Bell. Yep, absolutely.
It's a very precocious customer.
Yep, she was the manager. Now she's my accountant.
So,
you have a lot in common.
We got a lot in common. I wrote a book called Not Taco Bell Material because I applied for a job at the North Hollywood Taco Bell, and they rejected my application.
You didn't even get hired? Well, you know what? I probably
Didn't
wouldn't
even
have
get
got hired
hired
if my sister wasn't the manager.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, so let's be clear. And I used to be in there eating all the soft tacos for no
You
reason.
want to talk about black
privilege
privilege?
indeed.
Yeah.
I didn't have a sister that worked at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
La-di-da.
Absolutely.
So now you get in, and yeah, I know. I tell people all the time, just show up. Just show up. You get to a radio station, and they'll notice real quick if you're early, on the spot, on your game, doing everything. And people need to realize that the boss or the on-air talent or the whatever, they're sort of like a furnace it just needs to burn. It just needs to burn. And you got to keep throwing anything that's combustible into it. A morning show, they're doing 4 hours a morning.
Yep.
They're doing 20 hours a week of comedy. They'll take anything you can throw at them, or the boss or the radio station or the job site or whatever it is. They're constantly needing anybody who'll do anything. So the second you pop up and look at yourself as combustible, like, hey, I could throw me in. I'll go for it. They go, fine, we're throwing everything.
And that's exactly what I did. Like, because I started off in promotions. So, you know, promotions guys.
Street teamer.
Street team. They drive the station vehicle. They put the posters up. They show up to the personalities, the different events. And I had a good end as well because, you know, I was fresh from selling drugs. So if you needed weed or something, I can get that for you too. So they definitely wanted me around all the
Value
time.
added.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would take the station vehicles and take them home, even though I wasn't supposed to do that. So they would have to call me. I'm the guy that you gotta call. Where's the station vehicle? Oh, I got it. I'll be right there. I'm sorry, I took it home. Like, I've been that guy that would rather ask for forgiveness than permission.
So how do you make it onto the air?
I made it onto the air because the guy Willie Will, I would just literally hang around the station. So I would be there like all afternoon, all night. Like whenever I got off work from one of my other jobs, I think at the time I was doing telemarketing and working in the mall, I would just be at the station. And Willie Will would always just call me in the studio. So he'd call me in the studio and I would just get on the mic and just talk shit. Like whatever was going on, we would just talk about. And the music director at the time, Ron White, just said to me one day, like, yo, you ever thought about being on the air, like, you know, doing your own shift? And I was like, no, but yeah. You know, if you're offering, got that whole combustible thing. Like, I'm here.
The other thing, too, is people, DJs, it's like they're looking for somebody to bounce anything off of, and all you have to do is physically be in their sight. Mm-hmm. And if they're talking about something, they will eventually go to you,
Cause like you
ask
said,
for your opinion.
Yeah, because it's the 20 hours a week. Whether you're doing nights or mornings, you're there for 20 hours a week. You need content, baby.
Right.
You need new logs to throw on the fire. So if this guy's just sitting in the studio, let me ask him something. So in my mind, I'm not saying the same old redundant, boring thing.
But also, it's a little element of the car's broke down and you have to push it a mile every morning or every afternoon. That's your job. If this guy wants to jump in and grab a bumper and start pushing with you, fine. And it's your car. So it's like,
only benefit to you.
Let him push.
Absolutely.
Like that's the thing. They know they're not even paying you. So what do they care?
Oh, they definitely wasn't paying me. I tell people that all the time too. That's the other thing about radio. You know, I've been doing radio for 19 years this year. I didn't really start making money until about 4 years ago.
You have to work for free in anything. When you work at Taco Bell, you don't have to work for free. You get $4 an hour. But when you work at anything, even if it's sports, I mean, think about guys, national championships at college, they're kind of risking life and limb. They're working for free to get the payday to go to the show. When you want to do a job where there's a million people that want to do it and 10 openings, if you won't work for free at the beginning, you never get up to bat.
I talk about that in my book. Like, you know, a lot of kids, especially nowadays, they don't recognize opportunity unless it's a paycheck attached to it. Like my first big break came with Wendy Williams. I was doing radio in Columbia, South Carolina, and her husband said to me, like, look, we can't pay you, but we can give you a place to stay. And I was living in South Carolina at the time. I was out because I just recognized that opportunity. I'm like, I'm getting a chance to sit next to Wendy Williams every day, like one of the biggest radio personalities in the country. If I do what I'm supposed to do here, I can write my own ticket. And that literally was my mindset.
How did that all go down? How did they come across you?
Well, I was doing radio in Columbia, South Carolina. She was doing radio in New York, but the company that owned the station she worked for in New York also owned the station that I worked for in Columbia. So she was syndicated in Columbia. So she just came down to the market one time to do a market visit, and she was sitting in the studio, and I walked in with a bunch of mixtapes, and like I had a parody song I wanted to hear in the middle of her show. I'm sure you can relate to this, Adam. Somebody walks in the middle of your show while you're trying to do your show and trying to push shit on you. And she was like, take that mixtape shit out of here and take it to my husband. So I didn't get discouraged. I listened to what the fuck she said. I took it to her husband. And like, that's kind of how the relationship started. And then it was like a couple other events that I talk about in my book that just kind of like brought us closer together. And then they invited me to a party, in New York. So I went up to that party, and in the party, Wendy was like, yo, come on my show tomorrow. Now, she was drunk as shit when she told me that. But one thing about me, you can't tell me stuff like that and not expect me to, press you on it. So the next day, I'm calling her husband like, yo, she told me to come to the show, So he told me to go up to the show, and I went up to the show, stayed there for 25 minutes, and that night, they was offering me a place to stay, but no paycheck. And I thought that was the biggest deal of a lifetime, and I took it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the other, it's... I've said a million times, I worked at K-Rock out here for free.
K-Rock, legendary.
For a year, and then they offered me $50 a bit. And I was just like, I should be paying them to be on the radio station. And if you really think about it, K-Rock, if you want to sort of intellectualize it, K-Rock would probably bill Galpin Ford $750,000 a quarter or something for advertisements coming 30 seconds or 1 minute at a time. So that fact that I'm insulted that I get to go on Kevin and Bean's show for 8 or 12 minutes and talk and advertise myself, I should be paying them.
Absolutely.
If you really think about it, because as soon as we go to a commercial break, there's a comedy buddy movie that did pay $50,000 to do a 1 minute spot, and I'm getting 7 minutes, and I'm the product that I'm advertising.
Listen, absolutely, and I talk about it in my book too. I talk about how you got to pick your passion in life. Your passion is that thing that you would do for free. Clearly, you got a passion for broadcasting. I've done radio for free more than one time, and probably would do it for free now because I just love the power of the microphone. Like, it's something that I love to do.
I think people need to make a real distinction between, raking leaves or clearing brush or scraping tar off a roof, or working at Taco Bell, or I worked at McDonald's. That's work, and you'd never do it for free. No. But there's plenty of work that you could and should be doing for free because you love to do it and you do it anyway.
Absolutely. I've heard stories of people doing lawn care for free just to show what they could do.
Oh, just to show? Yes. I'm all for this, too. Like, if you say... I don't like to talk about myself, but
just this once.
The way I got to Jimmy Kimmel and K-Rock is being his boxing trainer, and
Jimmy Kimmel can box?
No, I can box.
Okay, gotcha.
But I can't teach Jimmy Kimmel to box, even though I tried. But when I said to the guy Bruce, who owned Bodies in Motion, I said, let me be a boxing coach. And he said, absolutely not. I said, all right, what do we do? How could I do this? And he said, I don't know, because I'm not hiring you as a boxing coach. And I said, I'm a carpenter. Let me hang a bunch of heavy bags and speed bags. And I saw him his change. I said, I'll do that. I'll do that super cheap. I'll do a bunch of work around here super cheap. And then you just give me the chance to teach boxing. And if I'm no good, I'm no good. And then you just got all your heavy bags and speed bags all hung up for free. So how about that? And he's like, okay, go ahead.
But you believe in yourself, clearly. See, I respect people like that because they understand that they have a product. They know that their product is good, or they have something that they can teach people that they know somebody can learn from. And they're willing to bet on themselves. That's what you did. And it worked.
Yes. But I didn't know it was going to work. I just figured... I think I can do this. Oh, here's what it is. I think I can do this. You think you can do radio.
Yeah.
I thought I could be a boxing coach. You think, but the person I'm dealing with knows I can. So he knows I can, and I think I can. So how do I turn his I know you can into I'd like you to succeed?
Could you show him that you actually can do what the fuck you said you can do?
And you got to do it for free.
Absolutely. Listen, man, that right there is the prime example of life. Like, you have to be willing to roll the dice on yourself. You may not have succeeded, but so what? At least you tried.
Yes.
I respect people who at least take the fucking shot.
Well, all right. So, Gina, you were going to ask something?
I was just thinking how ironic it is that you have to know your own value in order to say, let me do this for free. Because it seems counterintuitive, but the way you both described it, it's clearly not.
Also, too, with value, man, sometimes you can overprice yourself. Because I know when I first started in radio, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't ready to be making $10 million a year in New York somewhere, even though I was only working in Charleston, South Carolina, and only been on the radio a year and a half. You know, you immediately get in the game and you're thinking to yourself, I'm better than everybody. You haven't even heard everybody, and you don't even realize you suck. You know what I'm saying? Like you're just getting your feet wet. You might have some raw talent, but you got a long way to go before that talent is actually cultivated and crafted into something that is actually tangible and can be monetized.
Geico. Everybody's got the to-do list. How about you save a bunch of money on your auto insurance at Geico? That is geico.com. Just spend about 15 minutes. You could be saving 15% or more on your auto insurance. You go to geico.com, spend a couple minutes, and find out just how much money you could be saving at Geico. Put that extra money in your pocket. Be the most rewarding thing you do all day at geico.com.
Thank you, Adam. We have a few more clips for you guys. This one is Omar Epps from this year.
Yep, episode 2366, July 10th, 2018, aired July 11th. Still doing that day and date thing. Omar Epps is making a second appearance on the show. He proves to be a really good, solid guest. The gang seems to really like him, and this was a nice little chunk I thought we'd throw in.
All right, a couple more, Gina Grant.
Right. Well, a crew member on Johnny Depp's new movie is suing him for violent threats and actual assault. New York's Daily News reports that Greg Rocky Brooks filed suit on Friday, charging that Depp went ballistic on the set of City of Lies. That's a drama based on the murders of rappers Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls. According to the lawsuit, an extremely intoxicated Depp punched location manager Brooks twice in the ribcage after being told they had to wrap shooting for the day. Depp allegedly then screamed at him, quote, "I will give you $100,000 to punch me in the face right now." Brooks says he was fired after he refused to sign a document promising not to sue the production company, so he's suing.
Yeah, I think he just figured I can get $100,000 now, or I can get $1.6 million bucks if I wait it out 6 months.
Yeah.
I think Johnny Depp is a blackout drunk, and not that he falls. Sometimes people think that means you pass out.
No, you just don't remember.
I think he gets drunk and throws ashtrays at girlfriends and punches crew members and stuff. I think he's one of these guys.
You roll blank tape.
Yeah, and they just do these things that they wouldn't do when they were drunk, and thus probably not good to get into that condition in front of other people.
Yeah. And just as a side question, do you know anything about City of Lies, Omar?
No.
Oh, okay. That'll
You
be
saw
interesting.
Tupac 30 minutes before he got shot?
Yeah. Yeah, in Vegas.
Wow.
It was crazy. I haven't seen him in a year and a half. We all went to that same fight and blah, blah, blah. But me and we had no clue what they'd gotten into a fight or whatever. So it's a crowd of people. I just hear his voice. He's in the middle. I walked, not knowing these guys just had a big altercation. I just walked up and he had his back turned. So I pushed him real hard.
Oh, God.
Thank God I didn't just get pummeled. Right. But I have no. So he turns around. And he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And we were saying, "All right, let's get up later," or something like that. Me and my friends jumped in a cab, and then it was a lot of traffic, so we came back to the hotel. And then this is all in 45 minutes. As soon as we got back out, we jump in another cab and we're just sitting there because it had already happened. And then we didn't know that yet either. We didn't find out until 5 a.m.
What do you have a theory? Like the theory that Suge Knight called the hit out seems weird because he was driving the car and bullets were flying everywhere. It seemed like a weird time
He got shot.
Yeah, I think he got shot too. You can't really shoot an automobile without hitting Suge Knight. He pretty much takes up the whole front part of the car.
No matter where he is.
Even if he's not in the car at the time. But either way. By the way, I would not carpool with Suge Knight, considering his history with trucks and automobiles.
Yeah. Wouldn't share an Uber.
You call Lyft. Like, hi, your driver Suge is arriving.
No, cancel.
It escalates.
But not Lyft or Uber. But what? Do you have a theory?
No, I don't know. I have no clue. It's just bizarre that it's still technically unsolved.
Yeah. Speaking of bizarre, Jeannie, I don't know if your story says when the incident happened or when the lawsuit was filed or if this is just coming out now.
This just happened, right?
The suit was filed on Friday.
Oh, and then very interesting. I've been seeing posters for this in the movie theaters I go to see movies. Like it's coming soon. It's coming soon. I think the release date's coming up pretty quick. I wonder if it was timed. I'm going to get this. Like you said, wait it out. You're going to get a little more money. Time it just right. So
so
they make it go away.
posters.
The clock's ticking.
You see the reviews. Johnny Depp is Suge Knight. I mean, I haven't seen him, but I could imagine that's where that you just raised the price on that lawsuit.
Well, and remember a few months ago, I think this is what we report. This is what we were reporting on. They said there's some sort of scuffle on the set with Johnny Depp, and the director said, no, you guys got it all wrong. So he tried to make this go away, but I guess this is the result of that. From a few months ago.
Not a huge fan of Amber Heard. Is that her name?
Yes, that was his girlfriend.
But when she was talking about him chucking wine glasses at her and blah, 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 kind of involves booze and chucking stuff and kind of...
Those wine glasses were probably full at one point.
Yes,
before they got thrown.
kind of tend to believe her.
Didn't take him right out of the cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, Deadline reports that Billy D. Williams will reprise his role as Lando Calrissian in the next Star Wars movie. The 81-year-old actor who played the rebel ally in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi will appear in Episode 9, which comes out next year. J.J. Abrams, who co-wrote and directed The Force Awakens, will direct the forthcoming film. It's not known yet what the extent of his role will be, but apparently he will be in it. So what happens to Donald Glover?
Well, this is going to sound really nerdy. This is the continuation of the exist, like where Harrison Ford was old and he came back as Han Solo, and Mark Hamill came back as Luke Skywalker. So hence, of course, Billy D. Williams is the same age. The Donald Glover part was a prequel. So
I don't know.
That can exist on its own timeline.
But they're the same guy, right?
They're the same character.
And who's going to take over for the King Cobra malt liquor spots?
Yeah.
That's my concern.
That's Donald Glover. We'll go ahead and do that.
I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but I love a malt liquor commercial from the 80s.
And I thought his was Colt 45.
His could have been, there was Hammer.
That was a test, Omar.
Yeah.
You passed with flying colors.
There was a great, Fred Williamson was the Hammer. And there's that great commercial where it went in and they're like, I'm looking for Hammer. And he had a drinking desk, or it hit a button and a lit ice tray drawer came out of his work. It was an office. It came out. It was above the club. But did Billy D do Colt 45 or did he do King Cobra?
Omar's right. It's Colt 45.
Colt 45.
Of course, Omar's right.
Find that commercial and then.
Do I win a prize?
Now I got to find the one where he's looking for Hammer, too.
Colt 45.
Yeah. Sorry, Billy D.
Let's see it.
Talks about Colt 45.
Talks about Colt 45.
There are 2 rules to remember if you want to have a good time. Rule number 1, never run out of Colt 45. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. You want to know why you should keep plenty of Colt 45 on hand?
Now, who's going to do these commercials?
When friends might show up. I don't claim you can have a better time with Colt 45 than without it.
See? Can't do this now.
But why take chances?
Power of Colt 45.
She's in a negligent.
The whole time I'm thinking, you can't do this commercial nowadays. You can't.
I screwed up. King Cobra was Conan O'Brien, young Conan O'Brien.
I didn't realize that.
Before
It's easy to get
pre-Simpsons.
Yeah, it was a young Conan O'Brien.
Harvard
Find that
Lampoon.
spot. Find that. Don't rest until you find the Colt 45 Conan O'Brien spot.
On it.
Same text, basically, just with Colt.
For different markets.
Sexier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to find. I'm looking for Hammer. That was a good one. He had a desk constructed for drinking.
It's awesome.
Dr. Drew's not here, but I know what his answer would be. When you commission, like if you get you get a DUI in Dr. Drew's world, you may have a problem because that's an indicator. But if you get 2 or 3 DUIs, you have an alcohol problem.
Okay, sure.
And if you punch more than one crew member or throw an ashtray at one concubine or 2, you got a problem. If you commission a desk for drinking, that's what it's time to go to a meeting.
Yeah, time to look in the mirror.
I thought you were going to say, then you're a professional.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
Then
my
people should
argument.
look to you.
Yes.
Yeah.